This is a video on how to determine how many stitches, how much thread, etc. when you have a quilt. So I've set up a quilt in Pro Stitcher, and I am using the current beta, which right now is 531. It is awesome on my laptop on my simulator, and I use this every single day. So when I'm quilting, I try and decide how much thread, how much quilting is on a quilt, and the more you track it, the better you are at seeing how much quilting is on a quilt. So on this particular quilt, it is 59.96 by 70. So, and this is Circle Meander, which is in Nancy Hackey Designs. I think its designer notes are Nancy Hackey. It's a Wasatch quilting. So once I've made my design and I've baselined it, I can go up here to the tools and hit stitch stats. And so right now in this quilt there's 97,771 stitches. It's going to take 2 hours and 18 minutes, and that's dependent upon my Opta stitch. And there's 888 stitches that's the line of quilting. So I'll get back to that in a minute. So I can set my Opta stitch. Normally for most edge to edge, I set it at about 25. That's how fast your machine is going to go from every point. It slows down when it needs to, and it accelerates. So this is kind of a mid-range acceleration. I'll set it really slow when I have really tiny details, and then my speed percent, usually I have it at about 75% for my forte, and that's 75% of 2,500 stitches per minute. It's probably never going to get that fast because there's too many points and circly bits that will slow the machine down. So now when I look at my stitch stats, it still says the same number of stitches. It's an hour and 34 minutes. And the 888 stitches is, when I pull up my calculator, let me actually pull the calculator on the computer up. So 8,088 inches. I'm going to times that by 1.3, and that is to account for all the thread that bends into each stitch. Okay, so now we have 11,500 stitches. I divide that by the number of yards, and I know that there's now about 321 yards of thread in each the top and the bobbin. So I know that if I use So Fine in my bobbin, I'm going to need about 4 bobbins, because I can get about 90-ish yards in my measurement for my quilting on a bobbin. And that's just because I keep tracking how many yards I can put in my tracker for my bobbin estimator. Also, if I use bottom line, I'm only going to need 2 bobbins, because I put about 170 yards for my bobbin for bottom line that I wind my own. So I know that I need 2 to 4 bobbins for that quilt. It's going to take an hour and 34 minutes, and that's plus advancing time. So if I want to know how much is in each row, I'm going to go to Pro Stitcher, New Start End, and I'm going to pull the jumps up to the end, to the first row. I'm going to hit Modify Crop, Start End. So now I've just got 1 row, and then I can look at the stitch stats for that. It takes 13.5 minutes per row. So I know that I can get, a little bit of work done on each row. And then I can hit undo, and I will save this, put it on my jump drive to take to my Pro Stitcher tablet. But I just kind of write that information down so I know kind of what to expect. Every once in a while I've done a design that stumped me by, instead of what I thought would be, a 15-minute pass, was a 40-minute pass. And there's no way I could ever get that done in the time allotments that I had to quilt that day. So this kind of just makes me quilt a little smarter.